Welcome once again to Turkish series stars, the corner of the internet where every whisper turns into a tale you can linger over, like a cup of coffee savored on a cobblestone street after the rain. Today, we're flying straight to Milan, the Italian capital of sleek silhouettes and velvet nights, where a duo that Turkey has adored for years, Barış Arduç and Elçin Sangu, left their imprint on quiet canals, polished shop windows, and the collective sigh of anyone lucky enough to spot them. Before we unravel what happened, remember to subscribe to Turkish series stars, tap the bell, and, if you want to keep this storytelling family growing, hit the join button to support our passion for celeb moments that make your heart beat faster. Morning in Milan had barely lifted its pale veil when a string of photos, snapped with the stealth of a cat on a rooftop, started racing across the internet. There they were, Barış and Elçin, drifting along the Navigli, hands linked, heads inclined toward one another as if they were reading the same line in a book no one else could see. The early light broke into ribbons on the canal's surface, and in that silver reflection their quiet exchange looked almost cinematic. Even the most hurried commuters slowed their step, pulled by something tender they couldn't put a name to. Their style drew eyes like a magnet. Elçin, with that unmistakable flame of hair tucked beneath a soft beret, wore a grace that was minimal, intentional, and impossibly chic, an effortless echo of Milan's own design language. A tailored coat that skimmed the knee, a measured heel, a scarf knotted like a secret. Barış, grounded and generous in his presence, balanced sharp lines with relaxed ease. A structured jacket, dark denim that met polished boots, and a scarf thrown over his shoulder without a glance, as if it had always belonged exactly there. People who brushed past for only a heartbeat later spoke about how they became a quiet island in the city's tide, absorbed in each other, unhurried by the world. Initial murmurings from the press painted their trip as a brief interlude that married business with pleasure. It made perfect sense. Elçin has steadily become a darling of global fashion houses, her elegance finding a natural stage at European showcases. And word floated from those who orbit close to Barış that he has been eyeing new European ventures, projects that could broaden his craft while aligning with the kind of thoughtful storytelling he prefers. The idea that he would be there to support Elçin, cheering for her growth while quietly calibrating his own, didn't surprise anyone who has watched him move through fame with a measured, protective calm. The reaction online arrived like confetti carried by the wind. "They're breathing the same rhythm," one comment read. "Milan just got a new definition of beauty," another declared. "Where they go, the streets glow," someone else added, and the chorus only grew, a burst of warmth that reminded everyone how powerful their shared presence still is. Before we wander deeper into the day, a small reminder. The Turkish series stars family blooms because of your likes, your words in the comments, and your loyal company. Tell us, which snapshot of them in Milan stole your heart? And who would you be curious to see featured next on our channel? Your voice shapes what we explore. They didn't sprint through the city, they floated. A pause in front of a display that gleamed like a promise. A hot espresso in a cafe wrapped in history, where the clink of cups made a music older than memory. A moment for fans who recognized them, young travelers, curious locals, fashion students with sketchbooks tucked under their arms. They kept their privacy intact without building a wall, offering smiles, a few words, a photograph when asked. The gentleness with which they moved through those encounters turned every exchange into a small keepsake. But the quiet joy of their promenade wasn't the only reason Milan hummed with speculation. Behind the velvet rope of a very private event, a rumor sprang to life. According to sources with steady hands and attentive eyes, Elçin had been invited to a closely guarded presentation for a secret capsule by one of Italy's leading fashion and jewelry houses. The guest list didn't leak because the guest list never leaks at nights like these. Still, what filtered out was this: she didn't just attend, she belonged there. The choice of a black dress sculpted with a minimalist philosophy and the gentlest glow of makeup that highlighted her features gave her the kind of spotlight you can't manufacture. Commentators in the Italian press took notice with admiration that bordered on poetry. All evening, Barış was a presence you felt in the spaces between photographs. He didn't crowd her, he anchored her. He moved with an ease that let the focus remain where it needed to be while making it impossible to miss the strength of what they share. He stood with her, spoke with a handful of producers and stylists, and once or twice, when the cameras rested, he leaned in and they laughed. That laugh, the one only they know, might be the truest ring in any room. After the doors loosened and the city remembered that night air is its own kind of perfume, they slipped back into the streets. Their steps led them past a row of lampposts that drew slow circles of light on the pavement. The moment that captured the internet's collective breath came quietly, a sudden draft, a small shiver from Elçin, and without hesitation, Barış shrugged off his coat and wrapped it around her shoulders. She tilted her head and let it rest on him for a beat, that one simple, sincere gesture freezing time in a way no high-production shoot could. Within minutes, it was christened the most romantic frame in Milan, and even those who claim immunity to sentiment felt the tug. Then came another thread for the rumor mill to spin, the possibility that their ties to Milan might stretch beyond a fleeting visit. Whispers suggested that during the day they slipped into a couple of real estate offices tucked behind elegant facades to ask about lofts washed in daylight and apartments that carry the stories of a century within their walls. Nothing close to an official statement has landed, but the mere image of them wandering through high-ceilinged rooms, nodding at details and sharing quiet opinions, sent fans into a daydream they didn't want to wake from. The speculation didn't stop at addresses. There's talk, soft but persistent, about a joint initiative that would marry two passions they've both spoken about, compassion for animals and the creative education of young people. If the idea truly takes form, it would place them not just on the usual red carpets, but also in studios where kids learn to shape color into expression, and in shelters where small lives wait to be noticed. The thought of them giving momentum to causes like these electrified their community with a different kind of admiration. In a curious twist, their restraint on social media intensified the buzz. No cryptic captions, no carefully staged teasers, no swift replies to the swirl they set in motion. Silence from them has never been emptiness. For this pair, silence is the inhale before the reveal. And when they exhale, it tends to move the entire conversation. Another brushstroke on this Milan canvas came from the Brera district, where the city keeps a heartbeat for artists. A little gallery, its white walls warmed by the glow of spotlights, reportedly opened late for an intimate visit. The owner, a young painter with ink still drying on their name, was said to have reached out to Elçin after discovering her keen interest in contemporary work that blends urban texture with dreamlike color. They strolled quietly from canvas to canvas, holding hands without making a show of it, listening to the artist explain how a particular blue felt like rain against stone. A piece at the far end stopped them, a study in light and shadow that seemed to mirror their Milan hours. Did they buy it? No one can confirm. But sometimes appreciation is itself the purchase, sometimes just standing in front of a piece together is the point. Thread all of this together, fashion that fits like a whispered promise, art that turns a city into a gallery, romance that doesn't need a microphone, a horizon shimmering with new projects, and you have the kind of itinerary hearts bookmark. Milan suited them like a well-tailored coat. It gave them room to breathe, to move through a crowd as if it didn't exist, to offer tiny glimpses that felt more genuine than 100 planned photo ops. There's a question lingering behind it all: what's next? Do they step into a European collaboration that challenges what we expect from them on screen? Do they build a base that lets them slip in and out of Italy with greater ease? Or does the next chapter reveal itself in the very causes that stir them when the cameras dim? The only certainty is that their careful pacing keeps people leaning forward without ever feeling manipulated. It's a rare alchemy, to hold attention without grabbing at it, and they practice it with grace. Tell us, would you want to see them share the screen again in a project that brings this Milan mood to life, elegant, moody, honest? Which city do you imagine as the setting for their next unguarded moment? Paris at dawn, Barcelona at dusk? Or perhaps a return to Istanbul with the Bosphorus reflecting a new promise? Your predictions are part of the story we're all building together. Thank you for staying with us for this exclusive look from Turkish series stars. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and press the join button if you want to help us keep weaving these narratives that make ordinary hours feel extraordinary. We'll meet you in the next video, where an image becomes a story, and a story becomes a feeling you can't quite shake. Until then, keep your eyes open. Sometimes the most unforgettable scenes begin with a quiet walk by the water.